Hey guys, it's Crossroads here. Today I wanted to talk to you about PayPal yet again. Of course, they had earnings earlier this week, and I really wanted to highlight just one aspect because we had Block's earnings come out. We also had seen Fiserv come out, and comparing the peer-to-peer payment systems, it's very interesting and telling what's happening with Venmo specifically and PayPal. Now, when Alex Chris came aboard, he probably talked more about Venmo than any other product. I especially noticed it in the middle of last year. I'm like, man, this guy loves him some Venmo. He talks about how his son uses it, how he's like, hey, we should have done this in the past. This is the direction we're going in the future. At a time when a lot of people were like, okay, Venmo is actually taking away from margins. At the time, Venmo and PayPal actually sometimes competed head to head, and Venmo had a lower take rate. It was silly. It was weird. It was disorganized. That's what it was previously with PayPal. Now, fast forward. Now, not to the present day, but I want to show you this. This is a post from Finfluential, and he noted on the Bloomberg Intelligence, you can see right here, this is monthly active growth. This is back in August 2024. And we began to see a lot of more downloads and Venmo being a little bit higher up in the App Store as well. And we saw monthly active users tick up, monthly downloads tick up at the same time as many of the peers, Zelle is an exception for that month, really were declining. Now, fast forward a little bit. Today, we had, of course, Block that reported their earnings. Big part of Block is Cash App. Cash App, and then we have Clover, which is owned by Fiserv. And we can see these are peer-to-peer payments, so basically apples to apples with Venmo. And Clover was doing quite well, and well, yeah, it's only growing 8% year over year. And also, Cash App has slowed to 7% year over year. You can see it kind of stagnated here. And that's not abnormal. We actually see here with Cash App that this is what they've been doing as far as active users. They did do a better job before Alex Chris came on as far as the omni-channel having actual cards. I actually thought Cash App at the time was better than Venmo. I don't think so anymore. But you can look at the number of actives and they really plateaued. And that's probably something that they really need to work on. We also see, as far as their gross profit, they are monetizing a little bit better. You do see a 10% growth year over year. Couple of reasons for that. We're not going to go into that. That's not really Block earnings that we're looking at today. But what's really interesting is, so going back to this, the 8% and the 7%, keep that in mind. How did Venmo go? Well, let's look at a couple of things from the slide. So this was from earnings just this quarter, and Venmo revenue growth, this is not user growth, but revenue growth grew 20% year over year. Alex Chris even called it out and specifically said, when you add it all up, Venmo business grew revenue by 20%. That's sequential double-digit growth. So, in other words, it's not just 20% because of a weak comp. It's like they are absolutely accelerating even more rapidly. And it's the highest level we've achieved in years. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that. Going back to the earnings call, you can see right here in this next slide, this is one of those main objectives that they have this year, scaling Omni and growing Venmo. And so part of that is, of course, expanding Venmo Pay. They announced some partners that they had as far as that as well. And it's not taking away from branded payment with PayPal, which is pretty interesting. They added 2 million first-time PayPal and Venmo debit card users. They've really pushed out Venmo debit cards. Credit cards are a thing, but it's largely about debit card here. And they noted that there was a 40% increase in Venmo debit card monthly active account growth in quarter one, which is absolutely amazing. Now, that was a smaller base level, so don't get too excited. But you can see here the other breakdown. Pay with Venmo grew by more than 50%. Monthly actives grew 30%. Venmo debit card is right there. And of course, penetration is up to 6% from 4% a year ago. So they are accelerating. And if we actually look at what they're doing here, this is the volume, the total payment volume. So going back to here is 8% and 7% for some of their peers. For Venmo, it's 10%. It was 10% in quarter four as well. This is likely to actually continue to accelerate. We can see that the breakdown of it is actually increasing. And unlike how this would have been 3 quarters ago, where Venmo was actually the faster it grew, the worse it kind of was for PayPal, just because they did not monetize it. Again, going back previously, 20% revenue growth. And this is margin accretive growth. They mentioned it on the prior earnings call in quarter four, actually the prior two, that a lot of the reason why the margins were ticking up for PayPal is because they've effectively monetized Venmo. They're also shifting, of course, a Braintree strategy as well as a number of other things too. But Venmo is contributing to the top line, it's contributing to the bottom line. They're doing very, very well with it. And they continue to iterate it and make it a better and better product. And so, in essence, this is something that I love about Alex Chris is that prior to when you actually see it in the bottom line, he will start talking about something and he'll talk a lot about it, where it is right now with PayPal, where they're going in the future, any problems that they've had with it in the past, what they see as a potential outcome in the future. And then they'll set some specific concrete goals, and then you will see them execute on it time and time again. There are very few things that I'm not really thrilled with about PayPal, simply because the communication and the transparency are very, very clear. They're the first to admit and say when something is just not going right. And they also admit when things are going very well and they get very excited. Now, what's really funny about this earnings call, if you look at the earnings transcript at the very end, Alex Chris talks about Venmo and he says, "Hey, we didn't talk very much about Venmo this earnings call." Guess how many times Venmo was used as a word in the entire presentation? Two? 10 times? 40 times. There is a lot going on with this product. If you look at his previous fireside chat previous to this, there are some upcoming events as well. It is a lot about Venmo. Now, Venmo is a lot more, or PayPal is a lot more than just Venmo, but that's one of the things that is going very, very well. And I imagine without this shift in monetization with Venmo and without the shift in strategy and getting out these debit cards are really going after omni-channel, wallet pay, all that stuff, they would actually seen a pretty poor quarter. But Venmo has saved the day, has saved PayPal. Okay, that's a little bit of an exaggeration. But when you take that performance, and again, I will show it one more time here, and you contrast it with peers. You can look at Zelle, although Zelle is not a publicly traded company, and you compare it. It is outperforming here. Venmo is taking market share and not doing it in a way that costs PayPal in terms of top line or bottom line revenue. They're not just paying a whole bunch at a huge price for Venmo. Now, they did launch an advertising campaign in quarter four that is probably part of this traction as well. But man, it's an exciting time for Venmo, a product that many had kind of wrote off and said, hey, maybe they should divest from this if they can't monetize it prior to Alex Chris coming in. So congratulations to the PayPal team. Congratulations to Alex Chris. I know for us shareholders, PayPal, the stock has been a pain, pal, but I'm hoping that that will change. I don't know that that will in quarter two. You never really know as far as the timing of the market. But if you look at the bottom line, almost everything there is going right. Top line, there's some work to do. There's some execution. There's clear line of sight as far as goals. And Venmo is one of those things that is going very, very right for PayPal. Well, that's it for the video. Thank you guys for watching, commenting, and subscribing. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are you using Venmo more of yourself? I'm not. I'm using it about the same as always, where I use it several times over a quarter, not too often. Or are you saying, hey, Cash App is still better for you? If so, great. Please don't say that Zelle is superior because it's not and you're just wrong. If you like it, that's fine, though. But as always, thank you for watching, commenting, and subscribing. And until next time, happy investing.